let's pull back the curtain for a quick second there, listeners. The reason why we're doing this is not just because it's love in the air and Valentine's Day is around the corner, but we got a co-host who just got married. So let's go and give him a round of applause and all that love to he and his wonderful wife. What's going on, Adelaide? How's life treating you?
I'm loving it. First Valentine's Day as a married man, so it's something else. I really gotta put in the effort over here. Make it memorable. I need to
Amen.
get that
Amen. Well,
reservation 2 months ago.
nice. Well, like I said, man, the reason why we came up with this idea for this episode was not just because Valentine's around the corner, but we got a co-host who's celebrating his marriage. And one thing, I just celebrated my 1 year anniversary. Shout out to our wonderful graphic artist Lois. Um, she's great. She's tight. But one thing about marriage, one thing about these weddings, you get a whole bunch of advice. Some good,
Mm.
some bad. So instead of asking you a question, Ali, I wanted it to be Greg and Adrian giving out a lead advice type situation, right? So Greg,
Mhm.
I want to ask you. I want you to give advice to myself after my 1 year and Adali going into his new marriage because you're an OG and you've been
Mm.
married, you've been blessed to be married all this time and have a wonderful family. What's your advice on marriage?
Oh, that's broad, bro. Oh man. I think at the end of the day, understand it's not 50-50.
Mm,
It's 100-100. You both control this thing. You both have so much influence over the other. A lot of times people want to say it's 50-50, which means I, I I can't even be successful. I can't be 100% happy without you, right? And
mm,
there's times I've got to carry 70% of the load. There's times I got to carry 100% of the load. And my attitude can 100% affect the entire marriage and vice versa. I think that's one of the things I've tried to live by. It's hard. I'm not gonna lie. Um, the other thing is sometimes we gotta shut up, y'all. We gotta just be quiet
mm.
and
Some
just
facts.
listen because men and women are different, man. I mean, and you don't always realize it until you get married, but they're more emotional than we are. We're more
Mm,
logical. We want to solve problems. And I know for myself, I want to solve, and sometimes they just want to talk. They want us to
mm.
listen. And the art of it is try to listen. But hey, look, we're in this wrestling thing. We know how that works. The art of it is to make it feel like you're listening. So even if you're
Mm.
not totally listening, act like you are, right? And there's that. And I think that the other part is you got to serve each other.
Definitely.
And it never look at I expect her to serve me. We do have roles, and I do believe we have certain roles within marriage. But at the end of the day, you should serve each other. There's no reason that you shouldn't. I heard a pastor recently say this: you have company come to your house, and what's one of the first things? Hey, can I get you something to drink? Can I get you something to eat? Can I make some coffee or whatever? So we
Mm-hmm.
want to treat our company better than we treat our spouse.
Mm.
Why not go ahead and do that for them? Hey, baby, let me grab you a cup of coffee. Let me grab you some water or whatever. And I think those little pieces there, 100, listen and serve each other.
I like that, man. That's some great advice, man. That's some great advice. Out of lead, I'm only a year in, man. I'm not a grizzled vet just yet. Although sometimes it feels like it.
Yeah.
I got a little advice for you. Number one, it has to be you guys come up with some traditions.
Hmm.
That's one thing that Lois and I, even before we got married, we were big on we're gonna do these kind of little traditions throughout the year. Halloween, we're gonna do a jack o' lantern contest. carving
Mm.
contest. We're gonna do that.
Mhm.
Christmas, we make our own Christmas ornaments so that we can hang them on the tree. We'll put the date on it, and each year it's just getting more and more artistic, that sort of thing. Valentine's Day in particular, we do a paint and sip. Essentially, I make some fancy dinner, and we set up a little painting studio for both of us. And on the back, we alternate, mind you, we alternate the setup of what's going to be the quote to inspire the
Mm.
painting.
Mm.
And it's got to be a
Mhm.
quote that represents love, or something that's some proverb, or something to inspire the love and that sort of passion. Because one thing that I've learned, Pat, I mean, traditions traditions motivate you to go all out, because relationships, marriage, and all of that stuff, it's an everyday thing. It's not, you can't take a break from it. It's an everyday thing, and you want to always keep things fresh. And that's one way of doing it. Let's make some traditions. Let's go all in on it and do that sort of thing. And a big piece of advice, an immediate piece of advice in your first year of marriage, I would tell you, take as many pictures as possible.
Mm.
Mm.
Be
Yeah.
obnoxious about it. Be obnoxious about it. And you don't have to post it everywhere, but just have it. Just have it. Just have access to it, because you guys are building a family, you're building a legacy, and you want to ideally be that older couple with your grandkids, one to look at pictures of you two growing together and building this legacy.
Yeah.
So that's my number one and two bits of advice for you. But before we get to you, out of league, Greg, what's your one piece of advice going into his first year of marriage?
Man, reduce the noise.
Mm,
Mm.
Understand it's about y'all. It's not about her parents or her friends or your parents and your friends. And sometimes that's hard, right? Sometimes it's like that family thing. And even though, like Adrian said, those traditions, now the traditions are about y'all. It's not about
definitely.
anybody else. And that's going to hurt some feelings. I'll be honest with you. You got to be prepared to hurt those feelings.
Yep.
That,
Mhm.
you know what, you may on Easter or 4th of July or Christmas, you may want to start your own tradition that you don't get together with the family, and that's okay. And I think that's the other thing is understand that it's okay to be selfish
Mhm.
together and to tell the family no. I know that was one of the things that we struggle with. I'm not gonna lie, like we struggle with it, and we had to get to that point where it's like, this is us. This is about us. um Going a little spiritual, I mean, you talk about when you get married you leave your mom and dad. That's what it says in the Bible. Not to take it all the way down that, but I do believe that, right? And you leave your family to become your own family. And
Mm,
so when you put that in perspective, whether you're spiritual or not, you're still doing that, right? You're still going to build your own legacy, kind of like Adrian said. And
Mhm.
you got the only way you can build that is to be your own legacy. Yes, you still have ties back to your mom, your dad, and to your, everybody else. But the only way you can build your own is to be your own.
that's dope, man. That's awesome.
Indeed.
Adelie, what are your thoughts, man? You're getting gems, man.
Wow, man.
You and the
I'm glad.
listeners.
I'm glad this is recorded because I want to go back and listen to this a couple of times. I appreciate. First of all, thank you for golden advice. Essentially, I think we, off the podcast, we talked about getting as much advice from folks that have been in good marriages, and or even like you guys know what you're talking about. That you're seeing marriage as something that's a journey. It's not all roses and petals and great, it's a wedding day and it's perfect. It's like
Hmm.
it's an everyday grind, and you can have your ups and downs, but as long as you're faithful for the idea of growth in your relationship, you're not going to backtrack, right? And that makes me think of what you're saying. What I interpret it as is that growth has to happen through every iteration of the other person, and vice versa, right? You're growing together. And you might not be the
Definitely.
same person 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 20 years from now. And being accepting that the person you love right now is going to change through
Mm,
natural evolution, through
Definitely.
their own growth, through their own pursuits, and respecting that. And I know that's something that why I fell in love with, you know, with Yvette, because she's seen my growth and I seen her growth, and we push each other and we support each other, and we're that constant for each other, and we can talk about very openly about things. So, you know, to Adrian's point, I think creating tradition is super valuable because it unifies you, right? And it gives you that what to look forward to, and you can
Right.
reinvent it and you can change it. And
mm-hmm,
we were looking at our first Christmas and how we can do that. We're big on road trips, like that's become a pretty constant on our in our relationship, and that's been great, right? We don't have to plan too much. We just have a couple points of interest, and it's about literally about the journey. It's literally
mm-hmm,
about getting there, and if we're late or not, it doesn't matter.
mm-hmm,
And then to Greg's point of view, yeah, creating your own identity. I like the idea of legacy, because identity feels almost it almost feels like it's something that's temporary, that's just in the moment, whereas legacy
Mm,
is has this broad, real, long lasting view that you're building it brick by brick, right?
mm-hmm,
Definitely.
um and like any pro wrestler, we're fans of reinvention, right? So if we're reinventing ourselves with our partner, then that relationship is never going to be stagnant. It's always going to be growing, it's always going to be
mm-hmm,
fresh.
mm-hmm,
So
There
I
we go.
appreciate the words of advice, because going into it, that's that I got a piece of advice at a friend's party last time, and someone who's been married for 7 years, so they've been in it for a little bit, and they told me, our goal is to be together for 30 years. Then we changed it to 40 years, and then we said 50 years. And when you put that
Mm,
perspective with a number like that, and you put age with it, right, it really puts in perspective disagreements, differences of opinion. Is like, where are we going? Like, this
Definitely.
is our end goal. How are we going to get there, right? So I appreciate, gentlemen. That's incredible advice that I will definitely be heeding as I continue on.
No, definitely, man. Like I said, salute to you and your lovely bride, and best of luck in your first year and moving forward for sure.
yes, for
Thank you.
sure.
If you haven't already, like, comment, subscribe, and of course, look us up on socials at Suplex Dinner Club. And be sure to check out our other projects. We talk college football on Dogs versus All Y'all. That's a weekly college football podcast where we don't just talk about the Georgia Bulldogs, we talk about all things college football. The Life and Times Pod, which is short for the Life and Times of a Restaurant Lifer podcast, where I have some chill conversations with some cool and interesting people that I've met in my years in the hospitality industry. And of course, check out Talk 'em in the Building. That's a pro wrestling podcast where we solely focus on the promo. We talk about the talkers, we hype the hype man, and we pontificate on the promo. It's a fun project, and if you're a pro wrestling fan, I'm sure you're going to enjoy it. If you're into TV and movie reviews, check out Four Corners Cinema with Ari and Adrian, a podcast where two lifelong pro wrestling fans review film and other forms of media that just so happen to have some of our favorite pro wrestlers. The Suplex Dinner Club family is growing, and I would love for you to be a part of it.